Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Echoplex Media. We talk about tech stuff and news and things like that. And we like to bash billionaires here. And that's what we're going to be doing a lot today, I think. But anyways, I am historian Matt, and I usually talk about tech news, mostly science news type stuff, a few other things I'm interested in. And today, I didn't write my summary, but that's okay. We're talking about DeviantArt artists find their art will be used in AI to train AI by default. So this is kind of in our series on the image generating AI stuff, and DeviantArt kind of stepped in it this week. And the second one is a big news item with, we're not going to get into everything, I think, but we'll have a little discussion, but it's basically FTX collapses. If you don't know what FTX is and how it collapsed, we'll discuss that a little bit. And HK is on an adventure. So, Dave.
I have some giant pissbaby CEO news and some news on Elizabeth Holmes' trial and her potential sentencing.
Yeah. I guess I should have said former billionaires, because I kind of have a couple of those. But starting off with DeviantArt. So DeviantArt artists find that their art will be used to train AI by default. So if you have any art on the website DeviantArt, I think it's DeviantArt.com, which is a real popular place for artists to post their art. And they made some changes where, so I think before you could go in and people were scraping art from DeviantArt to use to train for these image generators, basically filling up data sets and stuff. And DeviantArt allowed a flag. They put in a flag that said basically no AI. So you can show that your art should not be used in these image data sets. I think there was some confusing around it. So some people were thinking that they had to actually go in and flip the flag for each image that you uploaded. I'll talk a little bit about that, my experience with it a little bit later, because I do have some stuff there. That does not seem to be the case. But then DeviantArt decided that they were going to do their own AI image generator called DreamUp. So this is an AI-powered text art image generator powered by Stable Diffusion. That's the algorithm that everybody's using to make these image generators. And it basically bypassed, from what I can tell, this no AI flag. So DeviantArt got in a lot of trouble for doing that. So they put up a form, and there'll be a link to this form if anybody needs to go to it. But there's a form you can fill out that's separate from this no AI flag to opt out of DreamUp for using your images in DreamUp. And so the full disclosure here is I historian Matt here, have art on DeviantArt, and I have both checked the no AI flag and filled out the form to opt out of DreamUp. So the no AI flag, that seemed to be just one flag in my profile. It wasn't a flag I had to switch for each image. The form is a little bit weirder because it isn't just you put in your account name and say, don't use my art. They have you fill out all this stuff, and it's really kind of annoying. It seems like they're not going to allow you to opt out if they decide for some reason. And it seems like part of it is if your art is not like distinguishable from other art, if that makes sense. So if you don't have a style that kind of stands out and could possibly be used as part of text import or the text input. For example, somebody saying they wanted a landscape in the style of Monet, right? Nobody's going to do it in the style of historian Matt kind of thing. So, and it seems like, just the way that they have that form written, it sounds like that's what they're filtering out. So what do you think, Dave?
I'm curious why you would do the no AI flag, because I know that you previously worked in machine learning, right?
Yeah, because it's pretty simple. For all of these websites that are using this image generator, they are charging for you to use it, and they're not giving money to any artists that of the work that they're using, right? So I'm not going to allow them to use my work to, make money off of basically my work, even though like I'm not a big name artist. My art is not particularly impressive or distinguishable from other stuff. It just, on principle, I find it to be unethical what they're doing.
So if it was like, if they were participating in some sort of open source AI project, you might be more inclined to let them use your work. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think most people on DeviantArt are going to take the time to fill out the form?
I have a feeling, well, because they hid this form, like you can't go to the DeviantArt website and just find it. Like it's not going to pop up. It wasn't in my preferences tab. It didn't pop up as like something that showed up when I first logged in. The only way I got to it is through this article that you had posted earlier. Like there's a link in that article, but there's not, like, I've not found any other way of doing it. So I think hardly anybody's going to be able to fill out this form. Most people will probably, if they care, find the flag in their preferences. And it seems like, so before they had made it like opt out. So you had to go in and actually check this flag to opt your art from being used and opt out your art from being used in these image generators. But now they switched it to opt in, and I just verified that mine is set appropriately. So I think more people are going to get that right. But the form, like, I think hardly anybody's going to fill out that form.
Well, if we do search engine optimization correctly from our episode, maybe we'll get a bunch of traffic to our webpage. People will be like, hey, I know where to find the link.
There we go.
It's in the show notes for the episode, whatever it is, of How the Tech Are You, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there was kind of an opportunity missed here, because I feel like they could have partnered with some kind of open AI thing, and most of their community would have been not only like opting in, but they would have been glad. Everybody would have been happy, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I know on like DeviantArt, there's a lot of like open source supporters. They are Creative Commons, I should say. That's the one for art. A lot of my stuff, if I can, I release it under Creative Commons licenses. Can't always do that because some of the models that I use, like I have to take into account what their license is, right?
Right.
But yeah, it seems to be pretty popular to use that. So it makes sense that people would give it away if there was an actual open source project to do one of these things.
Well, maybe after this, maybe people over there are thinking about it. Who knows? That's just, I think I saw something about it, strangely enough, on Mastodon this week. And
yeah,
but I just kind of scrolled by it or whatever, because it's not super interesting to me, or not something I would click on or seek out information on. But I'm glad you covered it on here, because the intersection of technology, art, and machine learning / AI is getting kind of interesting. It's getting kind of interesting. It's definitely going to be fraught with problems going forward.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going to happen with this whole legality of them scraping all these images that they didn't get permission for to use to train their AIs. Because it's the final product isn't something that is wholly based on what was the input, right? Like it's not just a copy of what was inputted, but there's something very unethical about that, just stealing people's work to train this AI.
Yeah, I think that the first thing that's going to happen actually is going to be certain celebrities are going to start going after these people because of their likeness. I think that's going to be the first way in which we start to see legal battles. And I don't think it'll be like Madonna. I think it'll be like certain thin-skinned celebrities, maybe, that we talk about on Wednesday might be the first ones to not want their likeness being used in such and such a person eats his vegetables, for example. Maybe certain thin-skinned public intellectuals wouldn't like that very much. Such and such a person takes his trust fund and throws a rave with it. I tried that one actually, and it it didn't give me what I wanted. But it could be it could protect be one of the sorts of people we talk about on Wednesday, or just anybody. There's somebody's going to sue these people over their likeness being like put on somebody else's marketing thing, or I don't know. It's gonna be whatever it is. It's gonna be a giant mess, and it's gonna be a lot of fun for the intellectual property attorneys involved, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I got for that. So I move on to the next one. Looks like it. So my next topic is, assuming you haven't been under a rock lately, living under a rock, you probably have heard that FTX, the cryptocurrency exchange, collapsed this past week suddenly and spectacularly. And there's a lot of stuff going on, not all clear what actually is true or not. So I'm going to try and go over what I actually know is actually true, but there's going to be a lot of like questions about probably what I'm going to say. And I'm not going to have good details on this because we just don't know yet. But basically, FTX was the second largest cryptocurrency exchange, and it experienced a liquidity crisis. And that basically means that you have money. So for an exchange, basically, they have to be able to give money back to the people who are using the exchange. So they want to take their money out. They got to have that money available to give out. And a liquidity crisis is basically they don't have the money. Now they have it in some other form. So like maybe it's in stocks or something that can't be sold quickly, or, they own a company or a house or something like that. And then, so that's usually something that damages a company, but they can recover from. But what happened next is not. And basically this liquidity crisis led to insolvency. And exactly how that happened has to do with, this token FTT that the FTX had, and it started losing value, and FTX, not FTX directly, but somebody else that FTX used to hold their funds, started losing lots of value and couldn't raise enough money for what they owed. And there's more to it. I don't have all the details, but basically they ended up becoming insolvent. So they did not have enough money to cover all the people that are drawing the money out of the exchange. And of course, what happens is when people found out that FTX was insolvent, lots of people started withdrawing their stuff from the exchanges for fear that it was going to collapse, which is, turned out to be a good idea because it collapsed. So at first, when this first happened, Binance, which is the number one cryptocurrency exchange, initially offered to buy FTX out, and then they would buy FTX and cover what was missing, and add liquidity and allow people to withdraw their money. But that turned out like almost as soon as it was offered, that offer was withdrawn. Apparently Binance got a look at FTX's books and said, hey, we can't cover this, and ran the other way and left them. So that pretty much guaranteed that FTX would collapse, and lots of people would lose their money if they didn't get their money out. There is some difference, like it was FTX.com, not FTX.us. So I think most of the US users use FTX US, and that's been okay so far, but probably will be damaged and may close because of all this. But it was FTX.com that collapsed. Anyways, along with FTX had some investments and was providing liquidity to BlockFi. So BlockFi is one of these DeFi platforms. They do lending, that allow people to upload, upload their cryptocurrency, either like Bitcoin or Ethereum. They have some limited number of coins you can upload, and you can borrow against them, or you could upload your currency and get like a steady income. So basically you're allowing it to be lended, and you get a return on your crypto that way. Well, that looks like BlockFi is going to collapse because of the FTX collapse, unless somebody comes in and saves them. And then it was found that Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the CEO and a creator of FTX, And I will now refer to as SBF because his name is long and I don't want to keep repeating it. But SBF was found to be using customer deposits in trading for his other company, which was called, I think, Alameda. It's either Alameda Investments or Alameda Capital or something like that. Didn't write it down, but that was not good. They were not supposed to be using the deposits from customers at FTX in a whole other company for trading. They weren't supposed to use it for trading at all, but they really weren't supposed to be, moving it over to this other company and allowing them to trade on it. And that was part of the reason the whole thing collapsed, because Alameda ended up losing a lot of money on their trades and everything got screwed up. And then finally, after all of this happened and FTX was kind of in the process of shutting down, it was hacked and about $400 million worth of cryptocurrency was stolen. It was basically just taken right out of their wallets. It's more than 400 million. I don't know exactly what it was. I've seen different numbers, but 400 million seemed to be the consensus, of at least of the lower end. So, lots of craziness. There's one more thing about SBF possibly trying to flee the country, but I didn't get a good source on that. And it wasn't clear what was happening, whether he was just like the FTX.com is registered in the Bahamas. He may have been either going there or coming back from the Bahamas. I don't know. It was confusing. Lots of craziness going on. We'll probably cover this in the weeks to come, especially if we can get some more information of what's going on. I put in a bunch of links, including some good videos on YouTube. CoffeeZilla has been covering it and doing a really good job of covering all the craziness that's been going on. But what do you think, Dave?
I've actually been paying a little bit of attention to this, not through any fault of my own, but because a podcast I listen to, Casey Newton and Kevin Roos do a podcast. Casey Newton does Platformer. He used to be at The Verge. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the podcast they do together now, of course. But they talked a little bit about it after they talked about Elon news. And it seems all quite sordid. And it seems like there's a lot of personal grievance going on between the heads of the Binance and FTX. Yeah,
there was I don't know how true it was, but supposedly the head of Binance started the rumor that FTX was insolvent, and that started this whole collapse. It started the whole problem.
Yeah, what I was reading, they were unsure about that specific thing, whether... Yeah. No, I don't know if they were unsure whether or not it had happened or whether or not it had anything to do with the result, right?
Okay, yeah.
I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember.
At some point, a lot of people started pulling their money out of FTX, and that screwed everything up.
Yeah, it's like a run on the bank.
Fell. Yeah, exactly.
And, this is not unique to these crypto exchanges. If everybody pulled all of their withdrawals out of any given bank, the bank wouldn't be able to cover it.
Well, not exactly, because banks, most like regular banks, are FTIC.
Yeah, they would have to draw on their. What I'm saying is they don't have they would have to draw on their FDIC insurance to cover the withdrawals.
They would survive because the FDIC would come in and help them out, and they're able to literally print money if it comes to that.
Right, and I don't think the FDIC should be insuring these crypto ventures. Yeah, that all these guys who basically made a bunch of money in crypto are like doing to try to turn it into more money. I don't think they should be covering it. But the idea that you don't have the reserves on hand if everybody called in their balance isn't unique to crypto. It's just that regular banks have this huge regulation regime that they're a part of. That essentially in exchange for following all of these banking regulations, then the government backstops them.
Yeah. So there's a lot of calls for some of these exchanges to be regulated, and they'll be able to take some of that money. They don't have to have all the cash on hand for withdrawals, but they can't invest in very risky assets. They will probably end up like being forced to only invest in like, U.S. treasuries or something, right? Something that if the run does happen, they can borrow against those pretty quickly and get the cash out or something like that. Or they may have to temporarily delay, but they still are solvent, right? They have the money. It just may take a while for it to come out. What happened with FTX seemed to be that in a large part of that is they had quite a bit of their funds invested in this FTT token, which was fine until the FTT token just suddenly started collapsing. And then suddenly they didn't have enough value in their tokens to cover the, what people were withdrawing. So they couldn't even borrow against it if they could find a lender.
What's I think is interesting is when Bitcoin essentially, like when it started, everybody was like, oh, they're like, you're going to be free of a bank. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the people that made a bunch of money on it was like, hey, I should start a bank.
Well, no, it's like, oh, it's going to be all decentralized. And the coin was, the cryptocurrency was decentralized, but we made all these centralized exchanges.
It's like, well, it's like you guys played yourselves.
Yeah.
You turned yourselves into the thing that you said you didn't want. And then you weren't any good at it either.
Yeah.
It turns out it's hard to be a bank, actually.
Right.
Being a bank is difficult because you're responsible for all of these people's money. And so they're like, let's try to make all the money that a bank makes, but without having to obey the regulation of a bank. And we're going to do it on cryptocurrency. And then it all ended in tears. It's happened a couple times now.
Yeah.
This one seems to be the worst, but it probably ain't the last.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel sorry for the people that I guess lost all their money, but they had I don't know. I feel like they kind of knew what they were getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. And, a big problem again with like FTX was it was being pushed really hard by all sorts of people all over the internet, a lot of gurus, cryptocurrency gurus, supposedly, because they were basically giving a lot of money to these guys to push it. And so it became very popular. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people knew what they were getting into.
I used to complain about all the VPN ads on everybody's videos.
Yeah.
But at least the VPN company was like providing a service and not, you weren't going to put all your money in the VPN company and then come like a week later, it's just gone. So, I mean,
right.
maybe I'm not so mad at all the VPNs that were advertising on everyone's channel for a while.
Well, the other one that was bugging me that they're advertising all over the place, and it kind of came back for a little while because I think like FTX stopped funding everything, but it was that buy land in Scotland to become a lord thing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like you have to know like that's like a gimmick, right? It's kind of cute. It was like buying the rights to name a planet or something or a star.
Right. Well, originally I would have said that it was an out scam, but I think they've changed their advertising so they're a little more clear what's going on. And on top of that, they're like, oh, we'll also plant a tree. I was like, okay, well, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, but it's obviously gimmicky. And
it's a gimmick. Yeah.
It's like gag gift status, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'd buy it for. I'd gag gift that to my mom. She'd be like, what the hell is this? And I'd be like, it's Christmas Eve. We do gag gifts. Mine's funny. Shut up.
Yeah.
So I guess it's my turn now, unfortunately. We're going to move on to the piss baby part of the docket here. There was so much that we could have talked about today, but this one, I watched this happen. So Elon Musk apparently fired an engineer for correcting him about a technical aspect of the company that he foolishly purchased without knowing anything about it, really. What happened here, it's pretty simply, is that Twitter, there's been thousands of layoffs, but this guy, Eric Fraunhofer, corrected Elon about a technical thing. It was just like something about Twitter being super slow in some countries, and he's talking about a certain kind of call. remote procedure call. And this Eric guy was like, I spent 6 years working on Twitter for Android. This is wrong. And then, then wouldn't you know it, Elon fired him right there on Twitter.
And fired in a response or something.
Right. In a reply. Just fired him in a reply.
Yeah. So Elon was saying that there's this like remote call that's calling thousands of times and slowing everything down. And the engineer was like, no, that's not happening. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. I don't know exactly what it, I mean, I kind of get the idea that if it was trying to call these thousands of things and couldn't, it would slow everything down. But then like people were saying, no, it's making it does it when you open the app and it's making like 120 of them.
Yeah.
Like everybody was saying
that's not uncommon. And on top of that, what he probably doesn't realize is a lot of those calls usually are done in parallel.
Right.
They're not like done one at a time. So that if it's done one at a time, it would slow stuff down. But if you do them all in parallel, it's just the slowest of the 120, right?
Right.
That's how much time it takes.
Like a computer, including your phone, can do like a couple things. You can do many things at once. Actually, that's one of the miracles of modern technology is multitasking.
Yeah. The whole Elon Musk Twitter thing has been an absolute fiasco. He's been burning it down faster than I expected.
He's just firing people for petty things. This is what I said was going to happen, that he was going to use Twitter the way he always has. It's just that he owns it now. His first act is going to be to use it to fire anybody who speaks out against him publicly. His second act, I think, is going to be to try to manipulate Tesla stock with it, because that's the other thing he was always trying to use Twitter with. The first one, he might get in some trouble with, like, especially California state regulators, because a lot of the employees were employed at Twitter in San Francisco. He might be running afoul of some city and county laws in San Francisco as well, as far as employment goes, because there's a lot of regulation on employment in San Francisco. And I get the feeling he didn't read up on that before he fired this guy on a Twitter reply. But he's going to get in real trouble if his next act is to try to like pump Tesla stock back up, because I figured that's like that's got to be the next thing he's going to do. Right.
Especially since Tesla stock has dropped so dramatically since he, bought Twitter.
But I think that one's going to backfire, because everybody's going to see that he's trying to use this other company he just bought to try to pump the stock of his company that is making money. And I think it's going to make it worse. People are going to be like, well, this is awful.
Well, I think the government's going to go after him if he tries to do something like that.
Oh, that'll be the second order effect. But I think what they call smart money will see what he's doing, and they're going to get out.
Right.
They're going to be like, well, we thought this was going to come back, but we got to get out of this. And, not for nothing, like, there's all these people that work at Tesla that are going to end up screwed too. Like,
for like no fault of their own. I mean, the company's doing fine. It's actually probably of all of its companies is doing the best.
Right. It's making money as a company. As we know, the stock market is not an indication of whether or not you are turning a profit.
True. Yeah.
You could be turning a profit and have your stock tank for some whatever reason, because people decide to do that to you. That happened to a lot of the Linux startups, actually, but that's a story for another time. As they became profitable, their stocks tanked because there was a bubble, basically, when the first Linux stocks hit. I just don't know I don't know. I hope he just gets bored with it and just sells it off to somebody else at a loss in like a week or two. I mean, like, I don't know what else is like, what's the end game here?
Yeah, I said I would buy it from him for $1 million, but I want to amend my offer.
500,000.
No, I'd still pay $1 million, but just for the domain. I don't want the whole company, because he could just load it up with $1 billion in debt.
And sell it to you for $1 million.
Yeah.
Give you a free Tesla and pat you on the back. Go, good job, Matt.
So I'll buy the domain and then point it to a Mastodon instance.
So
that's my promise.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope he gets bored and just sells it to somebody.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know.
I don't think he's going to get, I think he's going to just completely destroy it. and he's either going to sell it for like maybe single digit billions or even, hundreds of millions or something. I don't think it would really get much lower than that before private equity would come in and snap it up,
Right. I just wonder what's going to happen here, because he had to he got some kind of heavy hitters in the world stage on board with him. To buy Twitter. I believe is not either the Crown Prince or somebody very closely associated with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, one of the main investors here. That's not a good person to rip off.
No. He is known to assassinate people.
Yeah, they're known to handle things without going for example, the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Right.
That's unless the long game for them is to be able to, because they're a big investor or whatever, to be able to kind of kick him out and then use Twitter for propaganda, which I don't know how that would work, but I could see that being the long game for someone like that. But it just seems like there's no way he's ever going to make the money back.
Right.
The other thing, he was saying that they were paying $400 a day for people for food for each person.
That sounds completely insane.
Well, but the same guy was saying that everybody needs to come back to work. So they're either working from home or you're buying them food in the office, but it's not both.
Maybe he's fudging the numbers there. So maybe they're paying all their dining staff, right? For not having very many people show up. So that's where the number's coming from.
That could be it. Yeah. But I couldn't see him not firing the dining staff immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Those people might be in a union.
That's true. Although they're usually contractors to the major company.
Yeah, they might still be in a union though.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
Who knows? Who knows?
This is all speculation. We don't know.
Yeah, I just know that this is a big mess, and it can't both be that he's paying $400 a day for people for food, and that everybody's working from home and needs to come back to the office.
Right.
There's something fishy there. Something doesn't make sense. Anyway, our last story. We've been kind of covering this on Down Ballot actually, because it is a Bay Area story, but it's also a How the Tech Are You story. Elizabeth Holmes was convicted of fraud. And she made a mistake because she defrauded people like Henry Kissinger. So, you can rip a lot of people off, but if you start ripping off powerful people, you're done. You're just done.
Do you want to give a quick overview of what she did?
Yeah. There's a lot of great documentaries on it. I think anybody listening to this has some idea of what happened, but she was claiming that Theranos, her company, was building a small machine, much smaller than other blood testing machines, that with a drop of blood would run essentially every blood test imaginable, versus where if I have to go get blood work done, they have to take a couple vials, they use several machines, they send it off to an independent lab. It takes a while. It's expensive, time consuming. So she said that her machine was just a drop of blood and you were going to have all the tests done. That turned out to be false. And it turned out that she and most of the people at the top of her company knew that it was false, but they kept raising money for it. And from powerful people like Henry Kissinger.
Yep.
And so she was convicted in a criminal fraud case, not a civil case, a criminal case where she faces jail time. Except her attorneys are suggesting that she should get 18 months on house arrest and then probation. And the letter they wrote sort of reads like when you're applying for college, like a list of everything you did in high school. And I think it seems like the intent is to infantilize her and make it seem like she was not a fully responsible adult running this company. Yeah. Like she was a girl. Right. And
right.
I don't think it's going to work. I think that the the federal court here in San Jose wants their pound of flesh, and I think they're going to, well, not the court, the prosecution wants their pound of flesh, and I think the judge is going to give it to them.
And just to be fair, she's going to be convicted of a white collar crime, so she's not going to go to the scary prison.
No, she's going to go, and it's, you know, it's controlled. You limited contact with your friends and family, and it's controlled. You're told when to go to sleep, when to eat, all that stuff. But yeah, she's not going to you know, none of these places are necessarily safe, but she's not going to a particularly dangerous place if she does federal time. It'll be like a low or minimum security, probably minimum security, whatever the lowest level is, because she's not a violent criminal. And I don't think they're going to hit her with like 10 years or anything like that. I think it'll be like 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, they're asking for 18 months of house arrest and then probation. And I don't think they're going to get it. And it's the letter, the link in the show notes. You can check out the Verge's article on it, but there's also you can get, you know, from this article, you can get the entire like report basically that was given to the judge before sentencing, and it attempts to turn her into not an adult while she was doing this. It attempts
though, so she started the company at like 20 something.
Right.
I think it was mid 20s. I don't think it was early 20s, but she's in her 30s now, right?
Right.
She's a full adult, and she was running it and, you know, into her 30s. So she should have known better. She was a full adult.
Yeah. The other, her business partner they tried to like pin it on her business partner, saying he was the one doing all the bad stuff. But wouldn't you know that during the trial, her business partner tried to pin it on her, saying that she was doing all so that the Spider-Man pointing at each other defense actually never works.
Right. Yeah.
That's just an everyone's guilty defense. I think he'll get more time than her, because he is older.
Right.
And probably should have known better more, but who knows? Who knows? I would be shocked if they give her house arrest, because not for nothing, I don't think she came out of this all alms for the poor.
Yeah.
I imagine she has a nice house somewhere, and I imagine they'd like to punish her for fraud. And I don't know. I hope they do. Although it is pretty base to scam Henry Kissinger. I will say that, like, if you're going to scam somebody, you might as well scam a fucking war criminal.
Yeah.
But that's a different podcast. You might want to check those out. Speaking of which, maybe I'll read out this week if that's okay, Matt.
Sounds good to me.
All right, everybody. This has been How the Tech Are You? It is our only non-live show. Check out our live shows at twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia. Check out our Mastodon instance. That's at port87.social. You can follow us there at Echoplex, but it's probably better to follow us as individuals. I am Dave. Matt is Hist Matt there. And HK, who's not here, is H Parent on there, because our main account on there is just basically a bot. And give us money at patreon.com/Echoplex, and check out our website for whatever else you need. That's echoplexmedia.com. Have a techin' great week.